Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson Football Channel. Today, mega Chelsea news video to start your morning on a Wednesday. It's the day of the Europa League final, Man United versus Spurs. I'm thinking, do I do a watch along for it? If you'd actually watch that, let me know in the comments down below. But in this video, we are going to break down Todd Boehly's latest interview with Qatar Economic Forum. It was a video interview where he's asked a lot about all of his businesses, and obviously Chelsea is a big part of that interview. I advise you to go and watch the full interview if you do want to hear everything he said about Chelsea. I'm going to break it down today into the most important bits for you. And I'm also going to talk about Rodrigo to Chelsea because Real Madrid are now insisting on signing Nico Williams because they think it's too good of a bargain to not go for. What does that mean regarding Rodrigo to Chelsea? What does that mean Enzo Fernandez to Real Madrid? I'm also going to talk Martinez, Hatau. But first of all, let's begin by looking at Todd Boehly's interview. One of the early questions, and Todd Boehly says this: my role, I think chairman's a pretty good one. Boehly said, I can't play, or maybe I'll go as striker. See how the fans think about that, he joked. I mean, first of all, I don't mind this little bit of light-hearted banter. I think he knows that everybody knows that Chelsea are looking at a striker right now. So for him to say this, as long as Chelsea know that a top striker is a necessity, which I think if he's going to go ahead and put an interview out just one game before the end of the season, before the transfer window opens, you'd like to think, right, that Chelsea are going to be out there investing in a striker this summer. That's what we're hearing. Hopefully, we absolutely do that. The next thing, we've done most of our investing. We are not looking it as spend. We look at it as an investment. We are trying to build the best portfolio of players that can perform at the highest level for the longest periods of time. It's always going to happen, right? When Todd Boehly or Bedadig Bali or any of Chelsea's owners, when they're talking about the club, it's always going to be with business terminology at the forefront of what we hear. Investment is £1.6 billion. We have spent more money than anyone else in world football since these guys have come in. And to be fair, I don't necessarily think we have a spine yet at the football club, which is very important. But when you look at what we've actually bought, I do think we have, to use Todd Boehly's words, I don't like it like this, but we do have a portfolio of good quality footballers. There are some absolute needle movers in the squad already. And when we move forward, this is what Todd Boehly has to say about transfers this summer. I think there's going to be a lot of investment in this window. You know just what I'm hearing and what I'm feeling. There's going to be a lot of well-heeled clubs that are going to be looking to add to their teams. That's only good for the Premier League. So realistically, this is Todd Boehly talking about spend in the Premier League as a whole. There's going to be a lot of money spent this summer. Manchester United, whether they have it or not, they need to spend so that they don't get relegated next season. Arsenal, they've already bought Zubimendi. They need a big striker. Liverpool, they want Florian Wirtz. They've got Frimpong. They've got Kirkesh coming in. Man City, we know they're going to spend as well. Villa, Newcastle have got a kitty of money. So regarding these quotes, Todd Boehly is specifically talking about the positions in which all of the Premier League clubs are going to be spending this summer. And he also alludes to the fact that Chelsea know where we need to invest. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I know how to run a football club, but I'm pretty sure we need an elite goal scorer. We need a solid centre-back who brings a bit of leadership to the team. We need some sprinkling of experience in here to ensure that the good players that have almost got us Champions League, we're not like scraping at the barrel come the end of next season because we're actually going in the right direction. That is the investment that I believe Chelsea need. Whether we actually get those needle-moving players with a bit of experience or not remains to be seen, but that is what I think we need at Chelsea Football Club. So I think, to be fair, to consolidate my thoughts on this interview, I think it's one of Todd Boehly's better interviews, to be quite honest. But in terms of who those players are that we are going to invest in, you guys know everything really does hang on what happens this weekend against Nottingham Forest. And right now, after Man City beat Bournemouth quite convincingly last night, Omar Marmoush scored an unbelievable goal after missing a penalty in the final. Chelsea know that a win gets Champions League. A draw means we're relying on Manchester United to get a result against Aston Villa. It would be an absolute disaster if we don't get this over a line, because it absolutely affects where we go next season with player transfers. So, this is big news, guys, because a lot of people were saying, Rodrigo to Chelsea, this is just a pipe dream. Nothing's actually going to happen here. The latest regarding Real Madrid could mean that this genuinely might happen. And this is the kind of player that we're talking about experience, right? Rodrigo's still very young, but he's won the Champions League multiple times. He is a needle-moving signing. And yes, the wages would be big, but this is the latest coming out of Real Madrid. Real Madrid are now seriously considering paying Nico Williams' release clause. If it happens, Rodrigo will likely leave. Inside Real Madrid, the idea is clear. Nico Williams for only 58 million is too good an opportunity to pass up on. I totally agree with this. 58 million for Nico Williams is a brilliant piece of business. The difference is Real Madrid won't have any problems paying Nico Williams the extortionate wages that he wants to join any club, whether that is a Premier League team, whether that is Real Madrid, Barcelona. Nico Williams' wage demands are massive. So the 58 million fee, I think, is a good fee based on the current market for left wingers. There's not really an abundance of left wingers that are going to be changing the game for any club that signs them. Chelsea are evaluating Rodrigo's situation and considering making a proposal to Real Madrid. The one thing that is also big to remember here is that Rodrigo is also on big money. So when it comes to Real Madrid buying Nico Williams, I find that interesting. Because if you think about what Rodrigo is at Real Madrid, he's probably their fourth most important attacker. But if Rodrigo was to move to any other club, immediately he would go up that hierarchy in terms of like the number of importance, right? So I'm going to throw something out there here because obviously I've been calling out for experience. This is an experienced player that fits the model of under 25 players that Chelsea want to sign. And I also think that Rodrigo moving to Chelsea could actually be for his career what, say, a Cole Palmer moving from Man City was when he came to Chelsea. And hear me out here, because obviously at Manchester City, Pep Guardiola knew how good Cole Palmer was. I don't think Real Madrid have got any doubts about how good Rodrigo is, but when you think about the way that Real Madrid actually play, most of everything goes through Vinicius, goes through Mbappe, Bellingham, and Rodrigo is kind of always looking for those secondary scraps, which is why the numbers that you see from Rodrigo aren't necessarily the highest. He's also been playing Champions League football for so long. I think he scores 5 goals, gets 2 assists pretty much every year in the Champions League, which is mad numbers. And I think Rodrigo, the fact he could play right wing, left wing, through the middle as a 9. This is the kind of versatile player that Enzo Maresca loves. I do wonder, with all of the winger signings when it comes to Enzo Maresca, are they going to be right for Chelsea? Is it going to be right for the player? And at this point in time, right, Rodrigo is by far the best name that Chelsea could be looking at this summer. And there's also some rumour to be had here regarding Real Madrid, Enzo Fernandez. This seems to be heating up. As I said at the start of the video, it feels like the last 24 hours or so, everything is seeming to get a bit more loud in the transfer market. And Real Madrid, they're saying that they want to sign a 100 million plus player, the Galactico signing this summer. And they have always been interested in Enzo Fernandez. The story is that Galactico player is going to be a midfielder. So Enzo Fernandez is an obvious decision there, right? So there's obviously a ripple effect that could happen from Real Madrid buying Nico Williams. As a result, Rodrigo could leave Real Madrid. Chelsea might look to open that door. But in the same breath, if Chelsea are going to be negotiating with Real Madrid this summer because Real Madrid want Enzo Fernandez, I said yesterday, in my video yesterday, I don't want Enzo Fernandez to leave. I think that's a lot of output to replace. That is a lot of opportunity creation to replace. And is Santos going to be able to come in from Strasbourg and directly do what he was doing there all season? It's up for debate. We don't know the answer to that question yet. So could there be some kind of possible make-weight deal, swap deal between Real Madrid, Enzo Fernandez, Rodrigo? We're talking about like serious caliber players here, but fundamentally, I think Rodrigo is absolutely the kind of player that Chelsea should be looking at. This would be a massive statement of intent. I do think it would require breaking that wage mold to sign a player. Chelsea are closely monitoring Rodrigo's situation at Madrid and are considering a bid to sign him Talks have not yet begun, but they have already contacted the players' team in order to understand the possibility of a transfer. And obviously, when we're talking about Real Madrid, Nico Williams, I think the possibility of a transfer dramatically increases if Real Madrid do go and try and activate that Nico Williams 58 million release clause. Because if that happens, I don't see any world where Rodrigo does stay. I think he'd want to stay at Real Madrid because it's Real Madrid. And this is the same when we talk about Enzo Fernandez, right? Enzo Fernandez is on a massive long-term Chelsea contract. He's always kissing the badge, but I'll say this, right? That kind of kissing the badge era of football, it doesn't hold the same value as it once did. I'm not going to say that Enzo Fernandez is going to say yes to him because I don't know, but I would not be surprised. And what we're hearing at the moment is obviously he's good friends with Julian Alvarez, who plays for Atletico. And apparently he's been looking at houses and stuff in Madrid. Whether any of that is actually true, you never actually know. But there is a lot more journalists now talking about Enzo Fernandez to Real Madrid. And if they sign Nico Williams, Chelsea should absolutely be in that conversation to sign him. Right, it's that part of the video again where we are going to talk about Victor Osimhen, because once more, John Obi Mikel has been speaking about him. And look, I said this weeks ago, okay, and I'll repeat what I said weeks ago. The more Mikel speaks about Osimhen to Chelsea, it's almost as if he's as obsessed as me, which I believe he is, because I think Mikel wants what's best for Chelsea. He's a fan of the club, he's an ex-player, and a Chelsea legend. That is a very fair statement to say. Unbelievable in that Champions League final. But if you're Osimhen, right, and your mate keeps talking about you every time on his podcast, like he wants Chelsea, if it isn't true, you're telling him to shut up and Mikel's going to stop doing it. But Mikel is still doing it. And this is what he had to say. He's tailor-made for us. A player who supported us growing up. His idol is Didier Drogba. How many times am I going to say this? I don't know, mate, but every time you say it, I say it too. He bleeds blue. He wants to play for us. We have to get him. But if the club decides to go somewhere else, then fair play. Do you know what? I genuinely do believe him. I actually do believe him. I don't think he would keep on repeating the same thing. Because at the end of the day, right, it's your credibility on the line as well. And that's why, you know, a lot of times people say to me, oh, Benson, you're clickbaiting us. I'm like, no, I give my thoughts and opinions on the news, right? So if I think we should sign Osimhen, he's going to be going in my videos quite often. Because I do genuinely think Victor Osimhen is a game changer for Chelsea. Absolutely, 100%. And at the moment, right, I think if you were going to go for a Liam Delap, who apparently is favouring a move to Manchester United, if he favours a move to Man United with Champions League football or no Champions League football, let him go to Manchester United. Frankfurt have put an £84 million price tag on Hugo Ekitike. That is over 30 million or 25 million more than it would take to cost us to bring Osimhen to Chelsea. So forget wage structures and all of this. Even if you give Osimhen a 5-year contract at 300 grand a week, work out those wages, and you're only just probably going above what it would cost to bring in Hugo Ekitike. So I think at this point in time, right, you're hearing Todd Boehly saying we've done most of our investing. We know what we need to buy. I really hope here this transfer window is a perfect opportunity for not only fan appeasement, because I think we all can see that we need some top-level footballers to actually make this good squad a great squad. It's possible. We really can do this. Do we get Champions League football this weekend? If we do get Champions League football, that's when we're going to start to see movements happening. When the Premier League season is over, Chelsea, as Todd Boehly said, laser focused on the Club World Cup. That means that the club are going to be really, really homing in on signing players so that Maresca can take them to the Club World Cup, so that we have got the best chance of going as far as possible, making as much money as we can in that competition. It is absolutely key, not only for next season, but if we get Champions League football, get Maresca his players in now. I don't want to be sat here on deadline day again with Osimhen looking and wanting a move and he's not going anywhere because he's waiting for Chelsea. And then we get another year down the line and it's like, he don't want to budge his wages, don't want to play. I'm not saying it's perfect, right, Osimhen, because the fact he does want loads of money is slightly concerning. Does make me think maybe he ends up in Saudi Arabia. Maybe Juventus are willing to pay it and they'll go after the Serie A title next year. But I think Mikel there is a big element of what he's saying that is absolutely true. I want it to happen. I know a lot of you guys do as well. But let's move now into the next piece of news. Emi Martinez will assess all the options from Europe after Saudi Pro League clubs approaches, as he's expected to leave Aston Villa. Villa are among several clubs showing interest in Joan Garcia. Open race ahead. There are Premier League clubs interested in Emi Martinez, and apparently Chelsea are one of those clubs. Emi Martinez, right? I'm just going to throw this out there now. Don't think he's a perfect goalkeeper. Absolutely think he's a great leader that would bring experience to this Chelsea team. And I think Petrovic should be the number one next season. But if we are looking at a goalkeeper, then I think Martinez would be a good value option for Chelsea. He's early 30s, right? But goalkeepers can play until their late 30s. And I think Martinez would be a great stopgap top keeper until Mike Penders is ready. And that is only if we're not interested in giving Petrovic the number one shirt. Martinez to Chelsea, I'd quite like this. I think he'd bring some good energy to the club, that's for sure. The final story that we're going to talk about today has been a bumper news video. Smack a like if you're still here and subscribe if you are new. Chelsea have open talks with Ajax officials over the signing of Jorel Hatau. Really good player. I like the look of him. He's a left back predominantly. To me, this kind of screams as like a Renato Vega kind of signing, where Marc Cucurella is Chelsea's left back. He is irreplaceable for me. You can't sell him. You can't take him out of the team. He's phenomenal. Absolutely brilliant footballer. What a season he's had. Jorel Hatau is a young player. He can also play left centre-back, which I don't think we should be prioritising left centre-back positions, because I think Colwell's come into his own at the end of this season. If anything, it's the right centre-back position at Chelsea. Would I be happy to have Cucurella and Hatau as my two left-backs? Absolutely. I think it was so good for Chelsea when we had Ben Chilwell number one, Marcos Alonso still there at the club. I think that's the levels we should be looking at. So this is a really, really good, exciting young player. I think Chelsea should be looking at these calibers of players. But again, it's about where that distribution of finance is going. We don't need to spend 50 million euros on another left back this summer. We really don't. We need to be buying an elite striker, buying a top left winger. Rodrigo and Osimhen, we spoke about them today. That is the kind of needle-moving conversations that I want to be having on this YouTube channel. That would show serious ambition for Chelsea Football Club. Let me know your thoughts on all of today's stories in the comments down below. There will be a bumper podcast episode coming out later on today, so stay tuned to the channel. Josh and I are going to be breaking everything down, looking forward to the Forest game and talking strikers. And a few disagreements in today's podcast too, so it's a big one. Get ready for it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all later.